And hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show. Well, we're going to highlight another wonderful theater. It's called the Legacy Theater, and Keely Baisden Knudsen, the artistic director and co-founder, is my guest today. And Keely, so nice to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Third time's the charm.
That's right.
Thank you for coming back to the station. I really appreciate it.
Great pleasure.
You know, instead of being Zoom, you're here, and it's nice to have you.
Oh, thank you.
I like to refresh the minds of the viewers because they probably would love to hear about you again. Why don't we go into your background? Tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Well, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and when I got to be the age to go to college, I chose the New York University's Tisch School of the Arts program. So I went to New York City, and I graduated with honors in acting and a BFA. I had the Strasberg Institute background there, as well as some musical theater and an advanced acting program. And then once I graduated, I went on tour for a little bit and then applied to a master's program at the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama in Glasgow. And so I went to Scotland for a year and got my master's, and then came back to this area and started teaching on the college level at Quinnipiac University, and I'm still there 20-something years later, and other colleges as well, and started performing in this area. Took a few tours, but mainly I've been in New York and Connecticut all this time doing work.
I was reviewing our wonderful interview that we did last year, and you had said that you really were performing as a young child. Did you think that you were going to be an actress all of your life?
Well, that's an interesting way to put it. To be an actress, I think that you're kind of born, you know, emoting and expressing yourself and desiring to be in the spotlight. So I think that regardless of whatever maybe my job would have been, I think I always would have been an actress. I think people are just born actors, and so they're, you know, they're always performing or finding a way. So yes, it's always been a part of my particular DNA.
And you are still performing today?
Yes, I'm still performing, absolutely. In fact, I was in our production of A Christmas Carol. I also sing with the Royal Court Singers in Essex every Christmas season. And I'll be in this upcoming season as well at Legacy. And I've done a lot of Shakespeare with the Elm Shakespeare Company, and I like to write as well.
Now, the teaching part, people will say, oh my gosh, you know, she's a performer, but yet she's talking as if, you know, you are a teacher. Mm-hmm. How did both of them come about?
Well, what's wonderful about teaching on the college level is it's not nearly as demanding schedule-wise. So, you know, hats off to arts teachers and teachers in general who, you know, really give their time, you know, Monday through Friday and all day, and then of course weekends when they're prepping. For college, you know, I've been lucky to be able to teach 3 courses once a week. So, all the semesters coming up to this semester, it'd be Wednesdays. So, you know, I'd teach my 3 2.5-hour courses back to back so that it was a 1-day-a-week commitment, and I could, you know, do everything else that I'm doing on the other dates. This semester I'm only teaching 2 courses on a Monday evening and a Wednesday morning. So it's been very flexible. And also, you know, it's taught me a lot watching the generations now that it's been 20 years of teaching different courses at Quinnipiac. But I've learned a lot watching the incoming generations and noticing how the trends have changed and what they need to still be exposed to theatrically, and also, you know, what's been happening these last 20 years and how to make sure that I keep the curriculum as up to date as possible and as current. So, and in fact, it's helped me write a book. So I last year, Kindle Hunt published a book that I wrote that's called Monologue for All Ages with pointers. So I have monologues that are for, you know, from age 4 to our most seasoned performer, and it uses Shakespeare's The Seven Ages of Man, Jacques' As You Like It, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So we go through those 7 ages. We have at first, well, we skip the infant, but then we go to the schoolboy, and then all the way up to the lean and slippered pantaloon as far as chapters go. And then the monologues within them are pieces that are taken from different plays or original pieces and are appropriate for those particular seasons of your life. And I find that there's not really anything out there quite like it, and it also, has really interesting material to kind of sink your teeth in, comedic as well as dramatic, and classic as well as contemporary. And I have a little glossary and pointers and that sort of thing too. So
I bet they love learning book form. I mean, there's not a lot. Doing a monologue as a former actor is a very scary thing.
So you know.
Oh,
yes.
I do know. I do know.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I left the acting profession was that I couldn't remember my lines because some of the monologues are so long.
Yes, memorization is a tricky thing, and you really have to learn. Am I a visual learner? Am I audio? Is it that I can see the picture of it and memorize? And I find with my students, as soon as they kind of click into how it is that they memorize best, then it's a lot easier for them. And then they can take that tool for cramming for tests or what have you too.
Did writing come naturally to you? You have many hats.
Oh, my mother is a wonderful writer, and she taught grammar most of the years that I was raised by her. And so, she would correct me, you're not using the possessive with the gerund and that sort of thing, just as a young kid. So I've always kind of excelled with writing in the academic setting, but I never really considered writing a play. And it wasn't until I was approached, I guess in 2021, this was very recent, that I was approached by a man named Anthony Renzoni. He has written many books, you'll find them all over Connecticut, about rock and roll, about all these different things, but he'd written a book about this lady named Joan Joyce. And she was one of the greatest softball players and athletes of our time, female. And she even struck out Ted Williams, so not just female, right, in her own particular gender of sports, but just a great athlete. And he wrote this book about her, and he called me. We had just opened Legacy, and he was a Brantford native, and he said, I think this would read like a great play or film. And I said, well, let me read it. I'll take a stab at it. And my partner, Lauren Rosenay, who was working at Legacy at the time as the theater manager, she and I went to work on it. But as soon as I started writing it into play form, I thought, ooh, this reads like a musical. So then I started writing music to it. So we ended up creating this musical. We put it in our family series, so it had a deadline. It had to be done. We were going to perform it. And we did, and I tell you, because not my writing, but because Joan Joyce was such an iconic and amazing woman, it was sold out every single time. And we kept adding performances. And then there was, part of our season where there just wasn't time to do another show, but people were begging to come see it. So we put it on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m., sold out. I was like, what have we done here? And people were just going nuts about it. So she actually flew up from Florida. She was coaching at a Florida college at the time. And she came up and she saw it. I played Joan Joyce. I played her because I couldn't find somebody that I liked just right. I thought, well, at least I'll do my best. And she said, that was a wonderful rendition of her, all kinds of kudos. She'd cried, like the whole 9 yards. And then she was going to come back and see it again in Waterbury, because that's where she's from. Unfortunately, she passed away. So she's no longer with us, but what an honor. We ended up performing a reading of it at the Palace Theater just a few months ago, and they declared Joan Joyce Day in Waterbury. And then I'm pleased to announce that at the Seven Angels Theater, we will be performing Joan Joyce in October of this year for a 3-week run for their main stage, October 5th for three weekends. So her story lives on in this way, this kind of musical way, which is not at all, I'm sure, how she thought she would be remembered in some ways, but it's just been a real joy. And that unlocked the writing bug in me. And so I adapted A Christmas Carol and worked with David Bell to create the music for that. And Our Tales of Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh is an original piece that's recently in the public domain, and I was thrilled to learn that. So Brad Ross out of New York City, he and I have been developing this musical, and we go into rehearsals soon, and that opens March 25th at Legacy. So I love it. I absolutely love it, and it makes sense. It makes sense that, my background in the humanities and, just wanting to kind of write for my particular stage, like the legacy. I can be directing it as I'm writing it. I know some people I'd like to play certain roles and whatnot. So I have a good list. I have several musicals in the making that I'm collaborating with different people right now.
Before we get started about the Legacy Theater, you mentioned a moment of your calendar. Let's talk about the calendar before we go to break. What is happening in 2023?
2023, the first thing that we're doing is The Rape of Lucretia by Benjamin Britten. We're partnering with the Yale Opera, and that's beginning on February 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. It's those 4 days. 2 of the dates are for Yale and 2 are for Legacy Public. It's sold out. But the weekend after that, on February, or I guess 2 weekends after that, February 26th, we're having our first of the Broadway series. And Janet and Tom Shea very generously donated this amazing lineup of Broadway performers that are coming. And our first one is a Tony Award winner, Nikki James from the Book of Mormon. I actually saw her on Broadway perform. And she's coming to give a solo concert with her music director for 1 day only. And it's a Sunday, 2 o'clock on February 26th. So tickets are still available for that. So it'd be wonderful. I think it'd be a great Valentine gift because you could give the tickets on Valentine's and then have a date on the 26th. Yeah. And then after that, we have our family series, March 25th and 26th, as I said, for the tales of Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh. And we have a week of school shows where field trips can come and see that. So if there's any teachers out there, or principals or PTOs, get in touch with Legacy and we can set up a school tour for you. And then we open with our main stage series in, let's see, they start rehearsals May 1st, but we actually open the end of May, beginning of June with a world premiere of a very dramatic piece about the world of wrestling. And my dear friend James Roday Rodriguez, who was on Psych for many years and now is on ABC with A Million Little Things in their final season, he's co-producing it with me. And we have 4 TV stars coming. We have the guy who was Bobby Briggs in Twin Peaks is Dana Ashcroft. He's playing in it. Amanda Detmer is in it from Empire. Kurt Fuller from Evil is going to be in it. And Michael Hogan from The Resident just signed on too. So we're going to have those 4 and then a couple of very, very lucky locals that will be in this world premiere, very serious play for our first main stage. Our second main stage is the musical of musicals, The Musical, which you'll love. I mean, it's a spoof on musicals. So any musical you've ever seen, there's going to be some snippet in there that's like an inside joke for people who've seen those musicals. It's just a total delight. The third one is Disney's Beauty and the Beast. No explanation necessary.
Right, right.
And then the fourth one, our final one, is The Farce, the play that goes wrong, which is the funniest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. I took my family to go see it in New York last summer, and it was the one piece of theater that my 8-year-old son said, I loved it.
Good.
So I thought, wow, well, if he loves it, then we'll have people coming out by the droves. And we also have some special events. We have Mac is Back, which is the music of Bobby Darin that Chaz Esposito is going to be performing again, which is great. And with a big band. We have the rest of our Broadway lineup, including people like Hugh Pinero, who was Phantom of the Opera for so long, and a bunch of Tony nominees, Eden Espinoza, who was Elphaba in Wicked, Max von Essen. And then we have one more of our family series, which is Princess Tea by Chelsea Dacey. So it's going to be fun.
Well, let's hold that thought. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Smart TVs and streaming services have taken over the television industry. VSC TV is proud to announce our presence on Apple TV and Roku to make watching your favorite shows even easier. You can access this service by downloading the Cablecast ScreenWeave app. Then choose Valley Shore Community TV from the list of channels. Select VSC TV Live to watch our channel in full HD. Or pick a show from our on-demand video library. VSC TV is your local Connecticut Mid-Shore Valley digital connection.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and again, as always, thanks so much for being here. Well, we're highlighting the Legacy Theater. Hope you're enjoying the show. Keely, let's talk about the theater itself. People are probably saying, Legacy Theater, I have no idea what you're all about. Give us a brief overview about it.
Well, you have to come. If you haven't been there, you have to come. It is right on the shoreline in Stony Creek, which is a village of Branford, Connecticut, off exit 56 if you're on 95. And it's right by the Thimble Islands, which have their own wonderful, really inexpensive boat tour where you can go and enjoy that. It's by the Stony Creek Museum, by, of course, the Stony Creek Quarry, which has the base of the, well, they were responsible for the base of the Statue of Liberty and other landmark places. And it's a small 126-seat theater that has been in that location since the late 1800s, early 1900s. And it was a silent picture house, and then it became a live theater place. And in 1928, they raised funds just like we did to make it a little bit bigger and to have live theater there. And then it became a museum for puppets, the Stony Creek puppets, and then became the Stony Creek Puppet House, where they performed with these puppets. And then we came in. So it's had a long, really interesting history, including a history with Orson Welles and the Mercury Players, which is really neat. And now we ended up raising funds to completely restore it and renovate entirely. So everything's brand new in there and state of the art, and it's just a beautiful little theater in this charming neighborhood.
Parking. It's kind of a small area that you're talking about, or housing, except for the actors, etc. How do you do it all?
Yeah, parking was a real hot topic. And luckily, it hasn't been a hot topic since we opened because there hasn't been issues with it so far. So it's good. There surprisingly is a lot of street parking that ends up working out. We also have access to the commuter lot and have had a shuttle that runs back and forth from the commuter lot at exit 56 down to the theater if folks don't want to park by the Stony Creek Museum and then walk down on the sidewalk, which is like a 2 to 3 minute walk. So it's even when we're sold out, it gets crowded, but there haven't been the issues that everybody was worried about, ourselves included, when we first began the project.
The website, before I forget, it was wonderful. I went through it this morning. Tell us about it.
Our website, which our team, our staff really works closely together. We have such a fabulous staff, and everybody, pitches in for marketing, for their ideas, and every idea is heard. And so it really is a collaborative work of art, our web design. And Joe Landry is our graphic designer, and he is phenomenal and an amazing playwright to boot. But yeah, it's something that we pay a lot of attention to. We know that we want to drive people to our website often. We hope that it's easy to navigate, and that it's really kind of gorgeous in its way, so that it's really inviting and gives the elegance and the kind of aesthetic appeal that we aim to have in all of our shows. So thank you for noticing.
Oh, you're welcome. We have many actors that watch this program that would like to either be in the industry, that are auditioning, that are successful, but that would like to perform at the theater. How do they submit themselves to you?
So on our website, we have a link under Work With Us, and you go down to auditions, and we are actually, this is great timing, we're currently accepting submissions. We kind of do all year long, but right now I'm really paying attention to them because I'm aiming to have the entire season cast by March 6th. So what you will do is you'll find instructions for a virtual submission online, and then we'll have callbacks live if necessary. Last year we had auditions in New York City as well as locally, but we'll just see how it kind of pans out. But the first step would be to go online and find out the submission process. And we have the breakdowns on there, exactly what characters we're looking for and what you would need to do, what the vocal ranges would need to be, etc.
Probably people are thinking, oh my gosh, she does so many things. She has an incredible background. What made you think about starting your own theater company?
I loved directing in college, in terms of teaching college, and then I would get asked to direct as well, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm a very visionary person, and the whole craft of creating something from a story and then making it touch so many people who are involved in it. It's such a collaborative process. I thought, how can I do this more often? And I thought about having a theater company that would have an educational component to it, kind of conservatory training along with the performances. And so when I wrote the business plan for Legacy Theater, it was very much centered around that. And I should mention, we have year-round classes in partnership with Brantford Parks and Rec, as well as at our theater as well, and some other locations too. And that's growing, which we're grateful for. But it represents all ages, from toddler to adult improv and adult acting. So we encourage you to look up, and they're very affordable, I think. So if you go online under classes, you can see about those as well. But it was very much a desire to direct and to have kind of say on what kind of material is being produced and how that could affect audiences in the area.
Your co-founder, how was it to spend time with her? Tell us about her and how you two decided that you were going to move forward creating this theater.
Well, I couldn't do it without her. So Stephanie Steeple-Williams is her name, and she's our chair of the board, and she's also found on stage often and behind the scenes and just doing everything. She's incredible. She's a former Miss Connecticut, and she's performed at casinos up and down, and she's been in New York City performing. She's one of the most talented people I've ever met. And when I first heard her voice, the way I met her was back in 2002. We were cast in the same musical for a theater production company called Cornerstone Productions. And I heard her voice on, I think, a cassette tape before I ever met her. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm cast in a show with somebody like this. And then I met her, and she's just incredible. So we've been performing together for years and years, and so it was a natural fit when I decided I was going to have a theater company. And then she was the one who stepped it up and said, okay, if we're going to do this, let's do this right. Let's get a feasibility study, and then let's just fly this flag up the flagpole and see who's going to salute. And luckily, people have been saluting. So this is very much a joint endeavor.
How does the theater support itself? You've mentioned fundraising.
Fundraising.
Where do you get your money from to keep yourself going?
Oh, that's going to be the ongoing process. I think everybody in nonprofit theater, that's the name of the game, is fundraising. So, I got my feet wet with fundraising for a capital campaign, because we had to, fundraise in order to buy the building and go forward with everything. And we're just going to keep doing it for our seasons of theater, and then for the endowment, and then whatnot. So we have an incredible consultant for our donor process for development, and his wife, it's Don Weinbeck, and his wife Ann Ranolfson, who's our development manager. She's phenomenal and has a Broadway background. And so we're very fortunate to be kind of learning from them as we go. I think we're very good with marching orders, but in terms of finding the creativity and the know-how of how to really cultivate donors, I rely a lot on them, and Mary Lee Weber, who's also on our staff. So that it's fundraising. It's definitely fundraising, and trying to keep ticket prices low so people can come. So, if we were to have ticket prices to cover the expenses, there'd be only the elite would be coming to the theater, which would be a terrible position to be in, of course. It's fundraising. It's the corporations, foundations, matched gifts. And this year we have an incredible matched gift donor. If by June 30th we're able to raise $250,000, we can have it matched up to $250,000. So, in fact, this is the first time kind of personally announcing it. So it's very new news. So that's very much a part of it. We rely on the great generosity and philanthropy of others, and are so grateful for those that have means and feel like theater is something that everyone should have access to.
How does the future look like for your theater? Are you happy with what's been happening?
Oh my gosh, we are very excited. We have a brand new managing director that's about to take his role. I guess I shouldn't announce it yet officially, but this time next year you'll know very well who it is. But yeah, oh my gosh, we're so fortunate to have been able to to land somebody of his caliber. And I mean, sky's the limit at this point with somebody like that on our staff. So yes, I think I'm nothing but optimistic and excited about all that the future holds.
And your 2024 calendar, you're not going to announce that until the fall?
Probably the fall, yeah. Last October is when we announced this season, and so I'm imagining we'll follow suit, yes.
As we start to think about running out of time, how do you decide what you're going to perform? How do you select your plays?
I like to have a representation of all types of theater. So I'd like to have a classic piece, a contemporary piece. I like to have something that's funny, something that's dramatic, and also a new work in there, something that's a musical, something that's a straight play. So as long as I can get all of that formula into a combination of, that is the 4 main stage productions, I feel like I'm exposing and educating our audience to a myriad of theater to see what they gravitate towards, and make sure I represent as much of the timeline of the history of theater appropriately, so we don't just kind of pigeonhole us into one type of theater. So our seasons, we have a lot of different wonderful pieces we could put up there, but once I start whittling down and getting the rights to certain pieces, then I can select based on what gives us the best variety.
How has the community accepted you? Has it been hard getting involved?
So nice. I think it was tricky to get everyone on board with the idea and with the concept. But once we've opened and kind of proven this is what we do, and kind of the class act that we are, we've just had the most wonderful reception. It's been really a gift, and yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that there's not, there's just everyone's open arms and accepting, which is great.
Well, good. Thank you so much for coming. We've run out of time, so I thank you for being here.
Come to our website, legacytheaterct.org.
Thank you again for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. In case you'd like to volunteer for the program, please send me an email. I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day. Thanks so much for tuning in again, and I'll see you next time.